renewed hostile actions against United States ships on the high seas in the Gulf of Tonkin have today required me to order the military forces of the United States to take action in reply.
Moving down from the north, men, oil, machines, the tools of war are fed along the Ho Chi Minh Trail to bolster the aggression in the south. They move by night over the narrow roads, through mountain passes, and along trails hidden by the jungle foliage. Trucks and pack-laden coolies by the tens of thousands.
The United States Army soldier. The 1960s have brought him here to South Vietnam.
In the long history of mankind, there has never been a war which has demanded such complex tactics and so many sophisticated weapons as the war in Vietnam. An entirely new concept of warfare has been developed by the United States Army and has been successfully employed to meet the problems posed by Southeast Asia's hostile wilderness and the enemy who hides there.
We today have concluded an agreement to end the war and bring peace with honor in Vietnam.
Saigon was now encircled, and South Vietnamese troops could not move out more than 10 miles along any road. Beyond that, the communists were waiting.
My name is Douglas Potratz. I was one of the 4 squad leaders at the embassy in Saigon in April of 1975. Our colonel got us all together in the conference room, and he had the CIA brief us. And that was the first time we realized how bad it was. We set up the perimeters. They gave each squad a machine gun and a machine gunner, and gave us one of the 4 areas of the wall to protect. And then about 11 o'clock, that's when we knew that the embassy was going to be evacuated. And that's when the civilians started arriving. And the civilians were bringing suitcases, and they were bringing machine guns and all kinds of stuff. CIA came out and said, look guys, there's 100,000 North Vietnamese around the city. They're not stopping at anything. This is it. We're not going to send any people in. We're going to try to fly people out.
My name is Vern Jumper. I was the air boss on USS Midway during Operation Frequent Wind, which occurred in April of 1975, the evacuation of Saigon. On the 29th of April, we got the word to execute Operation Frequent Wind. We got off of South Vietnam, and we took on 10 U.S. Air Force H-53 helicopters. These are heavy lift helicopters, and they were manned and operated by Air Force crews. And we started launching the H-53s. We started shuttling them between the ship and Saigon.
We cut one of the trees down in the compound itself in the parking lot, and that's where the CH-53s landed. Those were the heavier birds. And we asked the CO, what do we do about the Vietnamese? And he said, look, If the guy's got an ID card that was issued by any United States agency whatsoever, and it's got his identification on it, let them come in and bring as many family members as they want.
My name is Minh Nguyễn. I was evacuated from Vietnam when I was 17 on the 29th of April 1975. When the curfew started, we knew that something is not right. When my family left the house, the street was unorganized. We didn't have any proper paper to leave Vietnam, but the family took us to a building which was gated and guarded by military police. Outside the building, people with proper papers, they stand in line. People have no papers like our family. We just wondering. It was very unorganized.
Pretty soon, the place ballooned. It was just packed with people. You've got to remember, a few weeks before Saigon fell, Cambodia fell. And when Cambodia fell, a lot of people died. So a lot of people that we were trying to evacuate were really in fear of their lives. They thought for sure that they were going to be murdered or executed because they had worked for Americans. So they were really desperate, very desperate. When they first arrived, they had suitcases, literally suitcases. And we just told them there was just no way that you could do that. Everybody was restricted to one little bag at the very beginning. We were putting about 70 or 80 Vietnamese on each one of the 53s. And the 53s are only designed for about 40 combat-loaded Marines, so we were like double loading the helicopters. And it was just spectacular to see how those pilots got in there and got out, because we're talking about a very small compound. They would land and they had to go almost directly straight up in order to take off over there. Those people were leaving, they had nothing. They had nothing at all. All they had were their families with them.
We would see entire families, older folks, little babies. If you could put yourself in their situation, they were leaving their country. They were flying out to sea, not knowing what to expect, landing on a strange ship in a helicopter that they'd never been in before. Most of them were just scared to death. They had all their worldly goods were, in a pillowcase, basically. From that standpoint, it was very sad, especially the little kids were so wide-eyed and, just frightened as they can be, because they obviously didn't understand what was going on. We tried to make them just feel as comfortable as we possibly could under such dire circumstances for them. And we did the best job we could to take care of everybody and make them comfortable.
My friend and I, we then just wandering off. We went to the gate and just looking in. And suddenly as the gate opened, there was a force of people push us from behind.
After a while, you just couldn't open the gates or accept anybody. At the front gate, we actually had two of the biggest Marines there. They stood on a little footstool and they literally reached down in the crowd, picked up the people, and put them over on the American side. And then every time somebody would come over, 2 or 3 other people would think, oh, well, they're letting people in again, so they would start pushing toward the gates again. The people in the very front, I'm sure some of them were crushed to death over there because they just couldn't move and we couldn't open up the gates. It was like watching a person drown and you couldn't go out and save them,
Instead of took the elevator up, we took the stairwell. And when we reached to the top of the staircase, there was a door. We kind of put our heads in and looked on the right. We saw a whole line of people lining up. We were afraid we get caught, and suddenly I feel a hand grabbing my shoulder. I think someone doing organizing that spot thought that we get lost by our parents, so they just grabbed us and threw us on the helicopter, and we left that building. They took us to the Tân Sơn Nhất airport. We saw people with proper papers, with luggages, get in line, leaving. I told my friend, I said, we had nothing, so we had to do something to blend into the group. So we saw luggages throwing on the floor. We just grabbed one of them and get in line. As we approached to the checking point, they opened our luggage, and it's all women clothes. So I think they thought that we got lost from our parents who already get in there, so they just let us go. The helicopter took us to the USS Midway.
The refugees that came aboard were not just from the H-53s. We were inundated with South Vietnamese helicopters, mainly Hueys, which are small attack helicopters. A Huey is normally designed to carry about 10 combat troops. We actually recovered Hueys aboard. One, we actually counted the number of people that crawled out of it, and there were 50 people on one little Huey. We were just pleased as we could be that we recovered every aircraft that came within landing distance of Midway. We did not have to make one helicopter ditch in the ocean. We did push over the side 3 to 4 helicopters. I think it was 3 Hueys and 1 Chinook. We actually had to push them over the side to make room for other helicopters that were running out of fuel.
We knew Saigon was surrounded. We knew that there was approximately 100,000 North Vietnamese troops. It wasn't a bunch of little guys coming out of the jungle wearing pajamas. They had tanks, they had artillery pieces, they had captured aircraft. So they were pretty well supplied over there. And we didn't know if we were going to get captured or whatever. And about 4 in the morning, the ambassador left. And then the helicopters stopped coming. So we went up to the roof, we buttoned everything up, and we just waited. And then the light came, the sun rose, and we were still there. About 2 hours or 3 hours later, they figured out that we were still at the embassy, and they started sending helicopters again. It looked like pure hell. They started looting the buildings when the sun came up. They realized that nobody was at the gates, and I mean, they were literally emptying the embassy when we were still in there. We didn't shoot anybody. We couldn't prevent any of the looting. We were just waiting for further orders at that time. But when the helicopters started landing again, we loaded up and we took off. Finally, after about a 30-minute ride, we went into the sea. And then to see all of those ships out there, it was really amazing. As we had no idea how many people were out there, how many ships were out there.
We were launching and recovering helos, and out of nowhere came a little bird dog, an L-19 aircraft. And he flew right down the flight deck and dropped a note on the flight deck, and the note requested that he would like to land on the Midway. He says, I have 1 more hour of fuel. I can land on your runway. Would you please move the helicopters over to the other side? Would you please save me? And then he signed it. Major Bung Lee, wife, and 5 children. He had his wife and 5 kids in this little 2-place airplane. So Captain Chambers gave me an order. He says, Vern, we're going to take them aboard. Give me a ready deck. We cleared the angle deck. The ship turned into the wind. We got 30 knots of wind down the angle deck. Major Bung Lee made a couple of passes just to look at the deck. And then he made his final approach, and he made a beautiful carrier landing without a tail hook. He rolled up the deck, and my flight deck crew ran out to grab him before he went over the edge. The major and his wife jumped out of the cockpit, came back around to the side, pulled the back seat forward, and out tumbled these little kids, and they'd been stuffed in there for 2 hours. It was an amazing evolution. We did not have a crash on the flight deck. We did not lose one person, not one person during this evolution. We had little kids running all over the flight deck and the hangar deck, and not one little kid went over the side, and that in itself was a miracle. And I have to tell you that God was with us that day. He was watching out for us, and thank goodness He was there with us, because this was a very, very dangerous operation. It was probably the most dangerous 30 hours I'd ever seen on an aircraft carrier.
We kind of felt like we had lost the war. We were just supposed to protect the embassy, but it was a real low feeling, knowing that there were still a lot more people that we had to get out, that we weren't able to get everybody. It was just total chaos.
For the very first time in my life, I feel very sorry for my country. I didn't realize that when the helicopter took us to the top view down, I saw fire, I saw smoke. I want to say goodbye, but then I know at the same moment that I think that I'm going to come back. I think this is just a temporary. So it's just a mixing feelings and don't know what's going to happen next. But like I said, the first time that I feel very patriotic for my country.